Rahul Gandhi has been disqualified as a lawmaker today. There was really no surprise or no uncertainty over this once the Surat court convicted him in a case of criminal defamation. That's because the law is fairly explicit on this. A 2013 ruling of the Supreme Court makes it clear that the disqualification is immediate in this case. There was initially some doubt that the Surat magistrate giving Rahul Gandhi 30 days by suspending the sentence for that period actually meant that he had a reprieve from disqualification, but that is not the accurate legal position at all. The accurate legal position is that the disqualification is immediate, and the only way in which he could have prevented it, again relying on jurisprudence of the Supreme Court going back to a 2005 case, was in actually getting the conviction and not the sentence stayed. And it's very important to note that the conviction has to be stayed. Merely staying the sentence does not help. Rahul Gandhi's disqualification happened because he was sentenced for a term of 2 years, and the law, the Representation of People's Act, is very clear that the disqualification will happen in two cases. One is for a certain kind of crimes, and the second thing is for any crime but for which the individual concerned is sentenced for a minimum of 2 years. So he comes under the second category, which means that if he goes to court, a higher court, and we will just come to which higher court he can go in a minute, but if he goes to a higher court which actually reduces his sentence to less than 2 years, his disqualification will likely have to be reversed because he comes under the second category. Criminal defamation is not under the first set, which is far more serious crimes which entail or which involve disqualification of lawmakers. So what is the road ahead for Rahul Gandhi now? Because this disqualification is serious. It effectively means he cannot contest till 2031 if it stays, because for the next 2 years he stands disqualified. That's the period for which he's been sentenced, and then you have 6 years, which is the period of disqualification under the law. So it's 6 plus 2, 8 years. We are in 2023, 2031. You have 2 general elections between now and then. So it's fairly serious. So what's the road ahead for him? The road ahead for him is simple. He has to appeal. Remember, this is a criminal defamation case, which means the proceedings are criminal. He cannot go to a high court. The hierarchy is that he himself can only go to a sessions court. However, the Congress party or a third person or anyone else who's associated with the party, or just about anyone else who's associated with him, can go to the high court, for instance, and appeal against the Surat court's order. I do not want to go into the merits and demerits of the Surat court's order at this point in time, but people being convicted for criminal defamation in this country is extremely rare. It's even rarer actually quite unheard for someone to be convicted for criminal defamation where there is not an individual on the other side. Here the allegation is that Rahul Gandhi defamed an entire community, but be that as it may. There are just two larger issues that I think are important here. One is the whole concept of criminal defamation, and as journalists we face this all the time, and it's a law that I think should go. You have civil defamation, but criminal defamation should go. There are many countries that have removed it. Of course, there are also others that have not removed it. There have been efforts to have it removed in India. The last such effort didn't succeed. It went up to the Supreme Court, didn't really succeed, but it is something that needs to be reviewed. And I'm not saying that because of this particular case. In general, criminal defamation is something that needs to be removed. The second thing to note is that Rahul Gandhi's speech, for the speech where he made the comment for which he's been convicted, was an election speech. It was made before the 2019 elections. It was made in Karnataka. People say all sorts of things in elections. Even discounting for that, the quality of political discourse, especially on the campaign trail, is is pretty abysmal, right? I mean, people say the kind of things that one should ideally not say in polite company, and it's rare for someone to be convicted for criminal defamation for effectively some what is a campaign speech, right? This could well mean, because this is a year when you have 5 more state elections, next year you have the general elections, you could see a raft of such complaints and cases around the country, because it's almost as if the doors have been opened, and that's again something that needs to be remembered. But for now, the important thing to remember is that Rahul Gandhi has been disqualified, has to appeal to a higher court, and this is really going to create a huge political controversy. The immediate parliamentary impact is going to be the ongoing second half of the budget session of Parliament. I don't think it's going to see any activity at all next week. It's going to be a washout because the protests are just going to intensify. But the finance bill has been passed today with some amendments, but that's another story.